We're back.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go through these. 9 to the power of 3 over 2 is rewritten as what? 9 goes here. Where does the 3 go? On the exponent. Where's the 5 go? 5 here. How is this my final answer? What is my final answer? 729. Do not forget to put the 5 into the index. The only index you do not need to write a number in is which one? 2. You do not have to write a 2. It is implied that it is the square root. Okay? Every other number, put it in the index. Do I write this as a decimal? No. Can I leave it as this and it's good for a final answer? Absolutely. I will give you full marks for that. Right? Next one. 0.04 to the power of 3 over 2 looks like what? What do I do first?
You put 0.04 in the bracket.
Okay. What next?
2 on the outside.
2 where?
On the outside of the
Index.
Here and 3 here. What is 0.04 to the power of 3 equal to?
6.4e negative.
Okay, when you have it that shows up like that, when it gives you that e, do you remember scientific notation at all? Okay, scientific notation, if you get 6.4 times 10 to the negative 5, that represents that you are 5 places to the right of the decimal. So if I go 0.1, 2, 3, 4, this 6 starts on the 5th point of the decimal, so it actually shows up as 0.000064. Okay? Some calculators do that. You just have to find a way to be able to figure that out if you're not sure. If you see that, like assessment time or any time, let me know and I can show you what that means. Okay? But basically what that's telling you is this. Right? And then if you wanted to solve it, what would you do? You would find the square root of this. And I believe since 64 is a perfect square, you would get an answer. It would be a terminating decimal. So you could do it. Again, I'm more concerned about your ability to convert that into a radical. Okay?
I did a thing for the last one and I want to know if it's right.
Okay, go ahead.
I got 15.6 over 181.02.
Potentially. What did you get for a radical before you combined the fractions?
Well,
What was inside your radical?
the exponent wasn't a fraction, so I just did 2.5 over 1.
Okay, and
Did
then
you get
what?
a fraction?
Yeah, but here's the thing. So good. Let's talk about this. This last one. What's the problem with this question?
It's in bracket.
It's in brackets. That's fine. But what's wrong with our exponent?
It's a fraction.
It's a decimal. It's not. We've been dealing with fractions. We have not dealt with a decimal exponent. Logan is right in regard to saying let's convert it to a fraction. Here's my problem. When I put 2.5 over 1, does that make it a fraction? No, I can't have a fraction with a decimal. Okay? So, what can I do? What are some strategies I can do to change this from 2.5 into a fraction Taylor? 2.5 over 1 as a fraction. How do I change it so I get rid of that decimal? What should I do?
if 1 over 2 is 1/2, then all you gotta do is multiply that by 2.5 times. No.
Not 2.5 times. I multiply it by 2. I can multiply it by 2. I can multiply this entire thing by 2. That gives me 5 over 2.
Yeah.
What's another number that I can multiply? This one's an anomaly because it's 2.5. What if it was 2.4? What would be the automatic number I can multiply it by and would get rid of the decimal?
10.
10. I can multiply this entire thing by 10. 2.5 over 1. Which gives me 25 over 10, which reduces to
5 over 2.
5 over 2. Okay? The only other way that was shown that actually was brought up last day, or in my last class, was if I write this as a mixed fraction, what is 2.5 written as a mixed fraction? Think of it.
2 and 1 over 2.
2 and 1 over 2. And what's the strategy to turn that into an improper fraction? 2 times 2 is?
4.
plus 1 is? Okay. Bunch of different strategies. The first one that came to my brain was multiplying it by 10. Whatever one works for you, your goal is to convert it to a fraction. Now that I know the fraction, I can solve this. It's 3 over 8, all to the power of 5 over 2. What does that look like as a radical?
You separate 3 and 8 into their own things at first.
You could. I can also, because it's a fraction, I can just throw it all into the radical, or I could turn it into a decimal, which is?
0.37.
I thought they're not accurate though. If we want to say
It's terminating, so it does work, but I'm okay. You would not lose points if you left it as a fraction. That would be actually encouraged. Okay? Decimal's fine because it terminates, but just know that you can put a fraction inside the radical. Okay? As long as it's all encompassed in that radical. Where do my 5 and 2 come into play? Where's the 5 go?
On the exponent.
As the exponent, and the 2 goes here, and then I would simplify 0.375 to the power of 5. It's going to give you a crazy number, I believe. Okay? Let's not worry about that right now. Just know that that would be your process. Okay? Are there any questions on that? Do we know how to split up a fraction as an exponent and write it as a radical? Savannah, you're good?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay? Let's keep moving. Let's go now. We've dealt with numbers that are, or exponents that are less than 1. Let's talk about numbers that are negative exponents. Okay? When you think of exponents, Stephanie, do you think of bigger numbers or smaller numbers? When I think of it getting an exponent, if I say I want the square or the cube of a number, am I going to get a bigger number than what I started with, or a smaller number?
Yeah.
Absolutely bigger, yeah? Okay? Most of the time, people see exponents as, they actually call it exponential growth. It grows rapidly. Okay? So you relate exponents to bigger numbers. Well, we can represent all of those bigger numbers as exponents, but what about the numbers that are less than 1, or what about the numbers that are fractions? Okay? Well, we can also represent those numbers as an exponent as well, and how we do that is with the negative 2, or with a negative exponent. Okay? I know that 3 squared is equal to what? 9. And if I put 3 to the power of negative 2 into my calculator, I get 0.111111 repeated. Okay? That is a representation of 0.11 repeating. And here's how we can represent that and show the relation as to why they even put negative exponents into, existence. Alright? Anytime I see a negative 2, we've not dealt with this. This is the first time we've dealt with it. But in order to make it into something that we can work with, we have to do a little bit of a switch or a change to make it something that we like. Anytime I see a negative 2 or a negative exponent, I want you to automatically put a 1 over the base that you're dealing with. So now it becomes 1 over 3, but I still need to have that 2, so I put the 2 where my base is. Okay? All I have done is I've eliminated the negative by adding it and turning it into a fraction. Okay? Does this look like something I could simplify now? Is there anything on there that I could simplify? What could I do? Turn the 3 squared into a 9. Okay? What is the big difference between 1 over 9 and 9? It's a fraction. I have the same 9, except when I have 3 to the power of negative 2, I turn it into 1 over 9. Here's the fun part. If I take 1 over 9 and I write it as a decimal, I get 1111111 repeating. How we represent fractions as exponents is by implementing a negative exponent. Okay? That makes sense? I want you all to try 4 to the power of negative 3 to give me that answer. Okay? Go ahead. yes, we'll do it. Good, good. Try the one below it, 1 over 3 to the power negative 2.
So after you put the base, whatever base,
Okay,
just put the
As soon as you put the one over, that negative goes away.
Okay, so then just make it 4 to the power of 3. Figure it out. 1 over 64. Okay, try the one below it, 1 over 3 to the power of 2.
Cool. I would, and again, just because I like fractions because they're still a little smaller, this is okay too because it does this. Nice. That's hilarious. Try the one below, 1 over 3 to the power of 2.
Okay, Maria, try that. Okay, so does this look like I can work with that?
Okay, what number is 1 1? No, that one's fine. Because the numerator is solved, right? I have a denominator with a denominator in it. One's my denominator and my denominator.
How did you go from,
somehow.
you just switched it? Sweet. Really? Yep. The one below, 1 over 3. Okay, so, yeah, you can work back, oh, sorry, Matt. Yep, you can.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, we do
other way to show it is, that's the shortcut.
three.
I've got 1 over, and if it's a negative 2.
Yeah, it's good.
Once you have that,
Third.
you're done.
Okay.
I turned it into
Negative 2, if I can get rid of that negative.
Because you're gonna have this part.
Problem is, that looks like you're fun.
So work backwards.
I have a denominator with the
That's just,
This.
that's how to show the steps.
To this.
You don't necessarily have to do that.
What's 9 times 1?
Because this is 1/64. 4 to the power of
Maybe.
Again, this is the math piece, if you get that shortcut, it's very great. This is the math. I'm a fan of not showing shortcuts first.
Because
If
it's
you
just
get the
the
shortcut,
same
use it
stuff.
second. If you are not sure of the shortcut or
Cross our
you
fingers.
do the math a little bit longer, but I'm not gonna slam you with like 50 bucks or more. Try the next one, Bible.
It's much easier to do the fraction. I just divided it.
In your assignments, I would, like, I'm not gonna give you enough to overwhelm you. Whatever you show me your proof, whatever your proof is, if you know that your
If
proof
that
is
way
a
works
shortcut,
better for you,
your proof is the long math way. That's what this is. Okay? Yes.
The only thing that keeps doing
3 to the power negative 2? No.
is.
This is good. So how do you simplify that?
Because, see what you're
Step.
doing.
No, I'm not. No. Just go 3 times 3 is 9.
You could, now, how I would do this is, I don't wanna deal with, which one do I wanna deal with? The 1 or the 1 over negative 2? Absolutely, so let's just write 1 over, cause we're, and put it in, and we'll deal with it later.
And then you're just doing the steps.
Nope, put the 1 over first,
Right under your
and then
foot
the line
there.
underneath. And now how, I'm gonna focus on this thing. What do I do to get rid of that negative exponent?
Holy shit.
If it was normal to
That's okay, but how do I make a negative exponent into a normal 2? What did I do here?
Times it again by negative 2.
What did I do here? I put a another 1 down. So it becomes 1 over 1 over 3 squared.
I did get 1 over 64.
Yep, because you're, as soon as you put, no, because you put the 1 over again, it gets rid of the negative, right?
now this is hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like normal fractions, like I get like you owe someone this.
Yeah, it's, I'm showing you the math piece of this, right? So I have this one, I'm gonna show you this. This is right here. right? We're not dealing with anything like this. We're focusing on this part right here. So just almost treat like this is completely disappearing. 3 to the power negative 2 is like saying 1 over 3 to the power of 2, right? Can I simplify that at all? I go 1 over what? 9. Very good. Okay, so now it's done, as far as we can get it. Still with this 1 here. I have 1 over 1 over 9. Which part is my problem? The numerator, which is fine, or the denominator, which has a fraction in it? Denominator. What is the denominator of the denominator? So what if I were to multiply anything I don't like? I change it. I just have to deal with the consequences. This 9 is what I don't like. I'm going to multiply it by 9. No, watch what happens here. What's 9 times 1? 9. Put a 9. What is 1 over 9 times 9? What's 1 times 9? 9 divided by 9 is? 1.
So 9 over 1?
9 over 1. That cancels this part. So what you've done is taken this 9, you multiplied it by 1. That, you've multiplied this by 9. So 1 over 9. Yes, so it would look like this. 1 over 9 times 9. How do you multiply that 9? You only multiply it by 3, right? If I had 9 over 3, then you would go numerator and numerator to 9. It's kind of like, yeah, it's cross multiplication, except I'm not doing the cross top off thing. So it actually becomes 9 over 9, which reduces to what? 1. It's a lot, but my final answer basically is 9. Yeah, 9 over 1 is just 9.
You know what? Honestly, I learned half of that.
Okay, so I want hands down just for a second. I'm going to show you these next examples and see if you've gotten them right. Okay, first one. 4 to the power of negative 3. I can rewrite it as 4 to the power of 3, which equals 1 over 64. Now, what happens if I have a term? We good? Okay. What if I have 1 over 3 to the power of negative 2? Which term do I want to deal with? Do I want to deal with the 1 or the 3 to the power of negative 2? 3 to the power of negative 2 I want to work with, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle this, I'm going to write it here, and I'm going to forget about it for a minute. I'm going to focus on 3 to the power of negative 2. Okay? When I have a negative exponent, what do I do to that exponent to make it a positive exponent?
Go 1 over.
I make it a fraction, I make it 1 over 3 over 2. So this becomes 3 to the power of negative 2 becomes 3 to the power 1 over 3 to the power of 2. Can I simplify or reduce anything?
Yeah.
Yes. I still have my 1 that I'm not dealing with, but this 1 divided by 3 squared is just 1 over 9. Now, which part of the fraction is the issue? The numerator, which is 1, or the denominator, which is 1 over 9? The denominator, which is 1 over 9. Here's the solution. If I do not like the denominator, which is 1 over 9, I'm going to change it. I want to multiply the entire number by the bottom denominator. What is my bottom denominator? 9. I'm going to multiply this whole piece by 9. What is 1 times 9? What is 1 over 9 times 9? 1. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. My final answer is 9 over 1. Okay? Are there any questions on that? It's a lot, for sure. Yep.
So 1 over 3 negative 2 is 9. So
1 over 1 over 3 to the negative 2 is 9, yep.
So then, put 3 exponent 2 is also.
So here's the shortcut, guys, girls, and Kara actually brought this up, and it blew my mind for a second. If I know that 1 over 3 to the power of negative 2 is what I'm dealing with, I know that if I have a negative number, I have to make it into a fraction. But couldn't I just work backwards? If I have 1 over negative 2, or 1 over 3 to the power of negative 2, could I not just flip this as 3 over 2? And then doesn't 3 squared equal 9? Okay, if you catch that as a shortcut, that's okay. I'm not one to teach shortcuts first. If you understand that you can actually work backwards and just say, well, if I have 2 1 over 1 over, is this actually going to flip and it becomes 3 squared, which is equal to 9? That's great. I'm not going to overwhelm you with 50 questions that you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have too much. I have to do all these shortcuts in order to get this done. I want you to understand the process. I'm only going to give you a handful of questions that you can do that process, but whatever situation makes sense to you, do it, okay? Make sure you prove it to me and write it down. Don't just do it in your brain. I want to see what you're thinking, okay? But I'm okay with either or. Having said that, what do I do with this one? 5 over 2 to the power of negative 3. Here's what it still works. That could pose a problem with if we were just to switch it, right, with the 5. That's our only issue. Okay? What can I do here if I'm using my mathematical process? What do I do first?
Take the 5 out of the picture.
I'm going to put rate 5 down and forget about it for a minute. Which one am I focusing on?
2 to the power of negative 3.
And how do I write 2 to the power of negative 3 as a positive exponent, Zach Rupdash? How do I write 2 to the power of negative 3 as a positive exponent? I have a 2 to the power of 3, but what do I have to do to the whole thing in order to have 2 to the power of 3? What do I have to add?
A 1.
A 1, absolutely. I have to have 1 over 2 to the power of 3. Okay? Can I simplify anything?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got 5 over 1 over 8. Which is my problem, the numerator or the denominator? The denominator, specifically what part? The 1 or the 8? The 8, typically speaking, it's always the bottom denominator that you're worried about. So what number should I multiply that entire term by? I'm going to multiply that whole thing by 8. 5 times 8 is equal to what? 40. 1 over 8 times 8 is equal to?
8 over 1.
Nope. 8 over 8, which is equal to? 1. What's my answer? 40. Try these next two. Did you change it? Try the next one. Well, and that was just it. I'm trying to make it, what if it would become 5 over 8 if you just flipped it like okay, try 3 over 4 to the power of negative 2. Yes, Mr. Matthew.
For what one? The 4 to the power of negative 3?
Add the 1 to get rid of the negative. Okay, so whenever I'm given something like this, I want to get rid of that negative because I don't like dealing with negative exponents. So how I do that is I put it 1 over and then I make it 4 to the power of 3. As soon as I put 1 over, it turns into a fraction. As soon as I turn this term into a fraction, I get rid of that negative. Okay? Because that's how we represent all of those numbers that are less than 1, we can represent them as a fraction. Right? And that's how we do it. We show it as 4 over 3, and then 4 times 4 times 4 is equal to 64.
How is this different?
How is this different than that? Because 4 and they're different, but they're also similar. Can I see your marker? You were right when you say that 4 cubed is equal to 64. The difference is that this is a negative and this is a positive exponent, right? So the only real difference, we still have a 64 included, right? There's 2 64s, but how I represent this negative is by putting this 1 over.
Oh, yeah, we can.
Okay? See, really the only difference is this, and that works for any of them, so I'm going to make it here. If I had 2 squared, I know that's equal to 4. 2 to the power of negative 2 still has a 4 in it, so because it's negative, I have to change it so that
You
it
just add the.
really, that's all you're doing. As soon as you see something, a base of 3 with a negative exponent, you know that 3 squared is 9, and you just have to put a 1 over top. Okay? And the only other curveball that might happen is what if I get this? Okay? Which is the question. Actually, I want you to try 3 over 4. Okay? Which is your problem? Which one's your problem? Kind of. Which one's the worst problem? Numerator or denominator? Definitely the denominator. Multiply everything by. Try that.
Now, how do I get this?
What's your problem? As I said before, it was always the numerator or the denominator. Which one is the more important? Or is it both finicky? The denominator. What should I multiply with?
If we were going to Scott,
I promise you, make you swear. If you try the math section, I will show you. I want you to try it. I want you to try the math part. No, it is not that. You have. Okay, 1 second. To get people started, guys, girls, with that first example. Okay? Remember, if I have an exponent outside of a bracket, and I want to get rid of that bracket, what do I have to do with that negative 2? It has to go where? On both of them. So my simplified version can be 3 to the power of negative 2 and 4 to the power of negative 2. Now, I just said this analysis with Matthew. Matthew just asked, what's the difference between 4 to the power of 3 and 4 to the power of negative 3? Well, there's really no difference other than we have to accommodate the fact that we have a negative exponent and a positive exponent. Does everybody know what 3 squared is equal to? 9. But because it's a negative exponent, I have to show that and represent it. So I have to show it as 1 over 9. Who can tell me what 4 squared is? 16. Because it's negative, I have to show 1 over 16. Which problem is more of an issue for me? Is it the numerator or the denominator? The denominator. They're both finicky, they're both difficult, but I want to focus on the denominator first. Of the denominator set, which number do you think I'm going to work with? The 1 or the 16? The 1 doesn't help me too much, the denominator does though, which is 16. I want to multiply this entire thing by 16, because this 1/16 isn't any good to me. I would love if this part here were to equal 1. What do I have to multiply that to make it 1? 16. So if I times this entire thing by 16, I get 1 over 9 times 16 is equal to just 16 over 9. 1/16 times 16 is equal to just 1. What's my answer? 16 over 9.
So you will have a fraction inside the fraction.
Yeah, but anything over 1 is just the numerator, right? So I want you, and now, go ahead.
But don't you do like 1 times 16, which is 16, and 9 times 16?
No, I do not. 16 is just a numerator, right? 16 written as a fraction is 16 over 1. When I'm multiplying fractions with fractions, I go numerator, numerator, denominator, denominator, right? What is, if I were to write 16 as a fraction, it would be 16 over 1, right? I would then go 16 times 1, 1 times 9, 16 over 9.
So how do I know what 1 over 9 times 16 is?
It's just 16 over 9. Unless you know unless it works down to an even fraction. If it's just a fraction, leave it as a fraction. If it can't be reduced, leave it as is. I'm okay with that, alright?
What about 1 7/9?
That's okay too as a final answer, yeah. I'm okay with, if you like mixed fractions, that's fine. I will take improper fractions, mixed fractions, and regular fractions all day, every day. Okay, whatever you're into. Here's the shortcut. What is 3 squared?
9.
What is 4 squared? What is the only, I still haven't dealt with my negative. Okay? When I'm dealing with this negative, I can literally just switch my numerator and the denominator. Is that the same thing as I just had? Yes, I can work this and treat it just like it's a normal exponent, as positive 2, and then to change and accommodate my negative, I just switch the numerator and the denominator. Okay?
Even if it's like negative 5.
Do it for this one. Show me this one. 3 over 2 to the power of negative 3. What's my answer? And then do it with the shortcut. No. 2, it's 3. 3 squared. 3 cubed.
Oh.
I'm okay with this, but you don't need 4. Anything divided by 1 is just the number. But that's not okay. You can leave it. Like I said, if you want to go mixed fractions, that's okay. If you want to go with proper fractions, that's okay. Unless the decimal terminates, keep it a fraction. Why are you doing good so far? So why don't you keep it up? Okay.
I asked between the 5 of you, none of you could tell me the French word for cabbage. You're all francophone, and none of you knew the French word.
None of us like cabbage.
Well, that's like the only thing I remember from 3 years of French class. So why would you?
We don't eat cabbage.
I don't know, but I remember it.
Yeah, we don't eat cabbage. We don't care.
What am I walking on?
Well, why do we have 5 francophone students?
Is it, are you getting it yet?
None of us eat it.
One thing I'm proud about from like
It's a lot. It's a lot. My the reason why I threw a lot at you was so that we can a little bit more time.
So,
Oh, I have to wait that much longer to get the new stuff done. And I'm recording it, so hopefully we
you don't speak English at home. And in your entire
Yeah,
life,
it's right now.
never
Watch.
had to say
3
cabbage.
to the power of 3 is what? 3 times 3 times 3 is what?
We don't eat it.
Lettuce and cabbage.
9 times 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So write 27.
It's a little
What is 2 times 2
surprising
times
that you're
2?
15 years old and you never in your
Just the
entire life
27.
had to use the word cabbage.
Right? Remember exponent laws? This 3 is here. That's 3 goes there. What's 3 times 3?
Your mom never made a dish with cabbage in it.
Yeah. What's 2 times 2 times 2?
Never made cabbage.
My mom doesn't make
Okay, we haven't done anything to change to
That's
accommodate
fair,
that
but
negative.
you also don't speak French at home, so.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's
But like, you'd think if you spoke French at home in 15 years.
Emily's like, I need you to do all that math. Here's the long math version. I know that this becomes 27 and this becomes 1 over. The 8 is my problem.
Yeah.
So I'm going to multiply this entire thing by 8. 8
I
times
don't know, that's just,
8
that's
divided by
strange
27.
to me.
I don't know.
That you could put it this low.
7.
So how
8
did you
times
learn
1 is 8.
English?
8 divided by 8 is 1. I don't need to write it down. So the same thing we just got.
So not working in time.
In this case, this way.
When I'm at home, I eat a lot of
Okay, 2 ways to solve this, guys, girls.
French TV shows?
The long way. I know that I have to have 2 sets of fractions here. I'm going to have a 1 over here and a 1 over here. What is 3 cubed? Gentlemen, ladies? 3 cubed. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. 2 times 2 is 2 is 8. Which denominator is my problem? 8 or 27? 8. I'm going to multiply this entire thing by 8. 8 times 1 is 8. Can I divide 8 by 27 equally? No, I'm going to leave it as 8 over 27. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Do I need to write it down? Here's my final answer. Here's the shortcut. I know that 3 cubed is 27. I know that 2 cubed is 8. I had to accommodate for that negative, so I just switched my denominator and my numerator. Is that my same answer? Yes. It is. It's exactly the same.
I hate
Here's my plea. Okay? This will work for all of the fractions that you're dealing with. Okay? Do not rely on it. However, again, I can't stress enough, I'm not going to give you 100 questions that you have to do the long way every single time. You should be able to solve it using this one method, okay? I'm a big fan of simplicity. If I can show you one method and it solves for a multitude of them, I want to do that, okay? Are there any questions? Okay?